everyone, and welcome to this week's DSS break. And thank you so much for joining us today. We're here live every other week to talk about data science experiences and best practices with data leading professionals in a 15-minute break. And I'm Anna Anderson, the CEO and founder of Data Science Salon. And we're streaming live from our headquarters located in the heart of Miami, right next to the Design District. And on today's break, I'm really excited to sit down with Samaya Raman, who is the director of data science and machine learning and infrastructure at Cedar. And I actually met her last week at DSS ATX. And she actually talked a little bit about the topic that we're going to be discussing today, which is really using data to optimize a patient experience with an ultimate goal of making healthcare more affordable and accessible for everybody. So I'm really excited to chat about how you are doing this with machine learning powered discounts. So thank you so much for joining us today, Samaya. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
Awesome. So why don't we go ahead and dive right in? You have so many experience. You have so many years of great experience of applying machine learning and AI to healthcare and finance and tech industry. Can you tell us a little bit about how your path kind of led you to this work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did a PhD at UC Berkeley where I worked on applying machine learning for biomedical applications, specifically using it to understand more about bacteria from the human microbiomes. That's the bacteria that live inside us. So I kind of started off on that health-related path. As you mentioned, I also did some work in fintech. I worked for Intuit on some of their personal finance solutions. I did some work related to using financial data to predict people's cognitive biases and personality traits and make the best financial recommendations to them based on that. So that was really interesting. I also had some experience working at Apple Health, where I worked on building health metrics for the Apple Watch and iPhone. And also had some sort of like consulting like experience where I was at a venture capital and private equity firm working with the companies that we invested in to bring data science and machine learning solutions to their business to increase the efficiency of their business. And as you said in the introduction, I'm now at Cedar. We're a healthcare/fintech company working on building the best financial engagement platform for patients with the ultimate goal to make healthcare more affordable and accessible for all.
Awesome. So it sounds like you kind of landed right in the right spot there with the
Yeah.
fintech and healthcare background. That's awesome. I know that you're a director of data science now and machine learning and infrastructure. So that's a lot of different things. What are some of your main responsibilities in your current role? It seems like it's really a lot of things that you do.
Yeah. So on regard to the infrastructure side, we work on building tooling and pipelines that will help enable the rest of the data science team and data related work across the company. So that might involve aggregation pipelines that make sure our data is in really like the right form and shape that people will be easily able to like build reports and do analyses and get insights from the data. So there's that side of the work. And then also we work on building data-powered features using both machine learning and rules-based algorithms. So from that side, we do a lot of the direct analyses work from our experiment results from our patients who are using the product and make determinations on how we can improve the experience for those patients, whether it be through a more like simple algorithm or a machine learning solution.
Right. Got it. Yeah, no, that sounds like you have to wear a lot of hats, which is awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it looks like you are having fun, especially after seeing your presentation last week. It seems like you're really excited about the work that you're doing, and I think that matters a lot. And I know that you spoke about creating machine learning powered discounts in healthcare. For those of you who haven't seen your session yet, can you tell us a little bit about this project?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I guess maybe starting off with the rationale for why we're doing this. Basically, it's kind of well known in healthcare that patients are really struggling. So 1 in 6 Americans have had their medical debt go into collections. About 40% of people have avoided getting medical care due to uncertainty about whether they'd be able to afford the costs. And then on the other side, the providers, which include like the hospital groups, the doctor's offices, they're financially struggling as well. Inflation is driving up their costs. Their patient volumes in many cases still haven't returned to pre-pandemic levels. So they're really looking for ways to increase their revenue as well. So what we worked on with machine learning powered discounts is using discounting, which is reducing the size of a patient's bill to help encourage the patient to pay, which increases collections rates on the providers and helps the patient as well. Because if that patient was struggling, having a smaller bill is something that can really help them out financially. So bringing machine learning into the picture, that's what enables us to give discounts to the patients who need the most help. So we we capture the attributes of patients along with their details of their the bill that they receive and their engagement histories, and use these features as input to a machine learning model, and then predict a person's propensity to pay, given that we provide a certain discount. So the way we do this is by utilizing training data from an experiment that we ran, where we gave different discounts to different patients, and now by looking at the outcome of those for those patients, we're able to make these predictions on how different people will respond to different discounts.
Cool. No, that sounds really major, because this is a huge thing about people not paying attention to their bills and such. So it sounds like you're actually making a huge difference. And what are some of the main challenges when you're building machine learning models for discounted prices?
So we faced a lot of different challenges. One challenge that I talked a little bit about at the conference is that with our model, we had a particular target variable that we were trying to predict, which was a payment in the first 120 days. And that 120-day period is known as a Dunning cycle in billing language. And that was the target variable in our model. But it wasn't the only way that a patient's collections and payments were being impacted by the discount that they were given. The discount also impacted how likely it was that a patient would finish out a payment plan that they started, because the discounted bills, which were smaller, led to less cancellations of the payment plan. So even if they started it in the first 120 days, there was this really long-term outcome that we weren't accounting for at all in the way we originally modeled the problem. So we had to update our approach to incorporate this payment plan recovery rate so that the long-term effects would be accounted for. And then another thing that a lot of people were asking about in the conference is like, how do we handle it when patients receive one discount, but then maybe another time they receive a different discount, and that's something that could impact the patient experience. So the patient experience is something that's kind of at the front of mind for us, and that's something that we thought about when we originally launched this experiment. The way we had it set up is that once a patient received a certain discount, that's the discount that they would get, kind of as long as they were a patient at that provider, and the discount amount wouldn't change. But when we launched the machine learning model, what we realized is if we have it set up that way, the machine learning model is never going to be exposed to any repeat patients, because if a patient was already given one discount, they'd kind of be stuck in that experimental group, and the model would not get a chance to predict what would be the best discount for them. So we were losing out on the patients where we'd actually be most effective. So we kind of had to restructure the way we did things, and we then had to have it set so that patients would receive the same discount for the course of their billing cycle. But then after that billing cycle was over and maybe they got a new fresh bill, they would then have the opportunity to be given like the machine learning powered discount, so that we could learn from their experience and learn from their previous collections history of how they handled their previous bills.
Got it. So it sounds like you guys are always learning as you're going and looking at how people are using this and then tweaking it a little bit. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I feel like with data science and ML, that's kind of a constant throughout all the projects, is the iteration and constant toggling and tweaking. Even with the latest machine learning model that we launched late last year, what we found just a few weeks after launching is that there was a slight discrepancy in the way that our input features were being calculated in our inference code, and it didn't quite exactly match what was in our training data. So we had to go back and make some tweaks like right after launching. So that's something I think that's super important, is like very careful monitoring after launch, as you're getting initial early results, and being ready to tweak and iterate exactly as you said.
Yeah, and it's good that you actually launched it without, because I feel like some people, as you know, most models never make it to production because people just throw them out or they want to redo them. So congratulations on launching that model.
Yeah, that's totally right. That is hard sometimes to like get it over that hump. And actually, The very first version of the model was launched before I joined Cedar. And that model, although it didn't perform so well in terms of improving collections rate, what I think the win was from that is that we were able to build the infrastructure and deploy that first model. And we exposed it to a very small percentage of patients. We just had it running for 5% of the patient population, but it was essential to get that up and running so that then we could iterate and make a model that worked even better and really had the impact that we were looking for on collections rate.
Cool. No, that sounds awesome. And I guess bonus question that I had for you, what is kind of the article that you've read recently that you found useful that you want to share with the community?
Yeah, so one article that I actually read a few months ago is about how the Meta data science team found that less notifications on Facebook is actually more helpful when it comes to increasing user satisfaction and getting the engagement outcomes. So at Cedar, one thing, like I mentioned before, we really care about the patient experience and patient satisfaction. And one of our upcoming projects is related to communications. We want to make sure that patients are receiving communications at the most effective times and frequency. And for us, effective means high patient satisfaction and, of course, leading to payments and a high collections rate. So I think Meta's article was really relevant to us when it comes to understanding how we should send our billing notifications. It might actually be that less is more. If we can send notifications less frequently, but in a way that works for patients, whether it be at the right time or with the right content that resonates with them, that might, or with the right, I guess, communication channel, whether it be email, text, paper. By reducing the number of billing notifications that we send, we might be able to really help in terms of patient satisfaction, but also still attain the really high collections rate outcomes that we look for.
Got it. No, I think that will be useful for a lot of different use cases. So thank you so much for sharing that and also joining us today. It was really awesome to chat with you. And if you guys like to see more takeaways from DSS ATX last week, you could check out our blog post, which we'll share, which we shared some main event things. And we're going to be releasing that content on our Insider platform as well in upcoming weeks. So I hope all of you guys have a great week. And again, thanks so much, Samaya. It was really great to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Anna, for having me. It was great to be here.
All right. Have a good week. Bye, guys.
Bye.